Have you ever felt stuck? Like you're just not motivated, or maybe you're just bored with everything? It's easy to think of these as, separate little issues we have to deal with. But what if they're not? What if they're all connected, all symptoms of one single, really modern problem? You know that feeling? You've got a to-do list staring you in the face. Could be a big project, could be just doing the laundry. But the energy to actually get up and start, it's just gone. And it's not just procrastination, right? It feels deeper, almost like your battery is completely dead. Or maybe for you, it's this deep, unshakable boredom. Think about it. That book you couldn't put down, or that hobby you used to pour hours and hours into. Now, they just feel like chores, especially when you compare them to the pull of your phone. And then there's maybe the scariest one of all, a total loss of direction. Like, you might remember having goals, having dreams, things you were excited about. But now, when you try to look ahead, the future just feels kind of blank, empty. So here's the big idea we're diving into today. What if this stuff isn't about you being lazy? What if these aren't personal failings at all? The research we're looking at suggests that these are actually symptoms of a really widespread condition that is a direct result of the digital world we all live in. Okay, so let's get into it. This condition actually has a name. It's called end-stage screen addiction. Pretty intense, right? It's a term that was coined by the psychiatrist Dr. Alec Kenogia, and it's basically a new diagnosis for a problem that is uniquely modern. And the name is really important. Think about it like this. With something like alcoholism, in the early stages, it's about cravings. But end-stage alcoholism, that's when it starts doing systemic damage to the whole body, the liver, the heart, everything. The whole argument here is that years and years of screen use does something really similar, but to our minds. It systemically damages our motivation, our sense of direction, even our basic ability to feel joy. So what does this actually feel like in day-to-day life? Well, the first major symptom is something called terminal boredom. And yeah, they call it terminal for a reason. It's this feeling of being at a dead end, an intense, almost physical inability to get yourself to engage with anything that isn't a screen. Let's break down the science of how this happens, because it's actually fascinating. Our brains are all about adaptation. So when screens just flood our brains with dopamine, that feel-good chemical, the brain's defense mechanism is to literally start removing dopamine receptors to try and dull the signal. This creates tolerance, and what that means is you start needing a bigger and bigger hit of stimulation just to feel normal. And this is the end result. It's not that scrolling on your phone is so incredibly fun. It's that your brain's entire baseline for what counts as fun has been completely hijacked. Suddenly, real-world things like reading a book or even just talking with friends, they just can't compete. They feel dull, unsatisfying. This is exactly why trying to do something simple like read a book can feel like absolute torture. You get physically restless. You're practically squirming, craving that stimulation. Your brain is basically throwing a tantrum, refusing to engage with anything that doesn't give it that massive dopamine hit it's gotten used to. Okay, so the next symptom goes even deeper than boredom. It leads to something called introspective failure. And this is where it gets really serious, because this is where the addiction doesn't just change how you feel, but it starts to change who you are. And this happens in two main ways. First, you've got the missed opportunities. All that free time where you could have been building a life, getting an internship, learning a new skill, making friends, it just gets completely eaten up by screens. And second, there's the emotional suppression. The moment you feel something negative, like shame or anxiety or loneliness, the screen is right there. It's the perfect escape. It lets you numb those feelings instead of actually processing them and learning from them. So what happens when you combine those two things? A lack of real-world experiences and constantly numbing your own emotions. Well, you're left with a void. Think about it. Those negative feelings, as bad as they feel, are signals. They're like your internal compass, telling you that something needs to change. But screens silence that compass, and you're left completely, totally directionless. This brings us to the third big symptom, and this one is a huge reframe for a struggle that so many of us have. A lot of people feel like they just have a willpower problem, but what we're looking at today suggests it's something else entirely. And here is that core paradox. You feel like you just lack discipline or willpower. But what's actually happening is a catastrophic loss of your fundamental motivation, your drive to even act in the first place. You don't have enough gas in the tank to begin with, so you need a superhuman amount of willpower just to get the car moving. I absolutely love this analogy. Our brains have these deep psychological needs, right? For things like mastery, community, a sense of identity. Technology gives us a cheap, artificial version of these things. It's like getting a trophy in a video game instead of mastering a real skill. It's calorically dense, but has zero nutrition. It fills you up with these empty calories, so you lose your appetite for the real, nutritious fulfillment you get from building those things in the actual world. Let's think of your motivation like a daily budget. And the currency is dopamine. Dopamine is the chemical that tells your brain, hey, that was good, let's do that again. So if you wake up and immediately spend, say, 80% of your entire daily budget on screens, you've got almost nothing left to spend on making work or hobbies or exercise feel rewarding. Of course your motivation plummets. All right, and the final symptom we're going to cover is how all of this affects your brain's command center, the frontal lobe. This is the part of your brain that's responsible for all the adult stuff, like planning ahead and controlling your impulses. There's this quote that just captures it perfectly. The human body doesn't wear out. The human body rusts. It's the ultimate use it or lose it principle. If you don't use a muscle, it gets weak. Well, the exact same thing is true for parts of your brain. And here's the kicker. Modern technology is often designed specifically so you don't have to use your frontal lobe. Just think about it for a second. Old school video games, they made you read text, plan your next move, navigate a map without any help. But today's apps and games, they do all the work for you. You just follow the little objective marker, you hit autoplay, you scroll infinitely. They're designed to remove every single ounce of friction, and in doing that, they remove the need for you to think, to plan, or to execute anything. And the result of all this is a frontal lobe that's, well, it's out of practice. It's rusty. You start to lose that ability to break down a huge goal, like I want to move out, into small, manageable steps. And at the same time, your impulse control is totally shot because every single app on your phone is basically an award to see which one can make it easier for you to just give in to that impulse to scroll or to click. So look, if any of this is sounding familiar, please hear this. The big takeaway is that you are not lazy, you are not broken. What you are having is a perfectly normal, predictable reaction to a completely abnormal environment, an environment that is expertly, brilliantly designed to make you feel this exact way. Okay, so what do you do? What's the first step? The advice is actually pretty simple. Don't try to quit cold turkey. That almost never works. Just delay. When you wake up in the morning, your dopamine budget is full. It's fresh. So spend it on something productive first. Go for a walk. Do 10 minutes of work. Anything real. Reinforce those healthy behaviors with that precious morning dopamine. And slowly, very slowly, you can start to rebuild your brain's entire reward system. And that really leaves us with a pretty powerful question to think about, doesn't it? In a world where all of our technology is being built to run on autopilot, how do we make sure that we aren't on autopilot too?